Hello, personal finance students. Welcome to Module 5, Week 5. Thought this would be a great time for me to check in with you as we are at this point in the course. I know it's been a couple of weeks since my last kind of course video blog. So just talk a little bit about our progress to this point. You guys are doing a great job. When I look at the grades, things look really good there. Quiz grades, really solid. Everybody's getting things turned in for the most part. So that I'm really pleased with the progress there. One particular area I'm very impressed with is the discussions. The level of contribution, the give and take that's happening between you is fantastic. So keep up, that level with the discussions. It's absolutely great. I think it's beneficial too. I see a lot of positive things, out of that. And sometimes, personal finance, obviously, personal. Don't feel like you have to disclose personal details. It's kind of a touchy area for some folks. Some folks are being very open about their mistakes, or their, learned, lessons, about finance. And I think that's great. I mean, I have made a lot of mistakes myself. By the way, never buy a boat. That was a huge mistake. But yeah, so we do all have those, and it's kind of nice to see that. So I do appreciate some of that candor that's going on in those discussions. I think it's helpful for all of us. So great job there. Now, what I would also want to talk about is a few of you are missing some assignments. So when I'm grading and I see there's an assignment missing, I'll put a single point, one point in the grade book to call your attention to that. It might have been an issue, maybe I just missed it, or maybe a technical issue in uploading. So please go back and, upload that assignment, or it might have just been late and you didn't do it. So let me talk about late work real quick, and I'll remind you a couple other times about this as we go along in the course. But, there's an official policy I have in here in the syllabus about late work. I will say I try not to pull that official policy out, okay? Only if I really need to, and I very rarely need to do that. So what I try to do is this. I kind of modify that for the most part, as long as there's a good faith effort between, from the student. And that is, I will accept late work, all the way up to the end of the course. Up till, Sunday at midnight, I'll accept late work. There will be a deduction on points, obviously, because, to be fair to the students that did it on time, and we do want assignments turned in on a timely basis just to manage the course and to manage the learning process. But there will be a deduction on points. Now, if you look at the official policy in here, it basically says eventually an assignment will go down to 0 points. It won't be worth turning in. And that, sometimes it's necessary for me to do that, but very, very rarely. So what typically will happen is if assignment's late, and say it's a sufficient, number of days or weeks late, you will be able to earn up to half the points of that assignment. Now, you may think, oh, half a point, so, what, is it even worth it? Yes, it is. What usually kills students in their grade is not low performance all the way through a course. Very rarely do I see someone performing low with all of their assignments. It's, the sporadic performance, great, great assignment done, and then one completely missing. Those completely missing assignments accumulate, and that's what brings down your letter grade. When I see an A to a B or a B to a C or even worse, it's almost always, probably 80% of the time, missing assignments. So the moral of the story is get it in. Even if you only have half the points, that can preserve your letter grade. That could keep you from still having an A in the course. So there's that. Please get them in. If you do have a late assignment, submit it to the Dropbox. I always go back and check, if there's an assignment missing, especially before final grades, and just try to make sure I've got everything in there. Or you can shoot me a text or an email and say, hey, Chris, I turned it in. And then that'll remind me to go back and check that and grade that for you. All right, so there's that on late work. So let's talk a little bit about some other questions that have been percolating up over the past couple of weeks. Are the concept maps. So I know I've got some videos in there. I think we've got 3 or 4 videos about concept maps and websites and all kinds of things to reference in helping you complete these concept maps. There is, the intent of that project is to make it a learning experience for you to make the concepts your own. So there is no like rubric, like I'm looking for this, this, and this in any particular concept map. But what I am looking for is a certain level of effort and thought, and that effort and thought is exhibited by the level of detail within the concept map. The things that are in there, whatever you're putting in there, is personalized. I'm not going to generally judge you on that unless you're just making up words and sticking them in there. You're going to, and that's the intent too, is you're going to take what you've seen from the videos, from the readings, lectures, what have you, and make it kind of your own. Some are going to resonate deeper with you than others. Credit cards seem to be a really hot button with a lot of folks. So, you may have 80% of your concept map may be devoted to credit cards. That's okay, and that's a perfectly acceptable approach. Or you may take a more classic approach and kind of look at the topics, that were done and just kind of give them the weighting to which they were presented in the, within the readings and modules. Totally up to you. But again, I'm looking for a demonstration of effort, thought, logical, layout, maybe creative layout. That's absolutely fine. And the best way to do that, picture's worth 1,000 words. Let me show you one that was turned in a couple of semesters ago, and it's a classic one. A very kind of classic approach that the student took. And this one, again, shows you kind of the level of detail that I'm looking for. They did that center out approach, where they have 2 concepts, credit and debit. Almost all of you did that kind of center, or that 2 concept approach, and then broke it down. But notice how they did that, and then they had the next level, sort of the supporting pillars of these 2 major concepts. And they used a graphic. In this case, they picked a circle, and they used that for the supporting pillars. And then if they needed, and you should have more detail, not on all, but on most, additional details on those, major nodes or supporting pillars, whatever you want to call them. And they use the triangles on there. That's completely up to you. Triangles, circles, whatever. That's the fun part. Color schemes, whatever. Layout, however you want. But this, if you can look at this, you can see a certain level of detail. They even, they did, even the connecting, concepts, that, each line for the most part, be confident, self-discipline. I like this one. Warning with an exclamation point when, talking about debt consolidators. So, that's kind of what, what I'm looking for, that level of effort and detail. And they used, in this case, they used Microsoft Word to build this out versus handwriting. So I know some of you have had some difficulty with, manipulating maybe Microsoft Word or Pages, or there's even concept mapping apps out there that you can use for iPad or Android. But and handwriting is okay, and I'm accepting that work, no problem. But there is a small deduction on points for handwriting, but I do expect it to be neat. Maybe use, kind of a ruler. So that even some neatness in the presentation is something that I'm looking for too. I will say this too. The best concept map ever, since I've been doing this class, and this is probably my 6th run of this class, was turned in with this group. And it was a completely creative approach, totally different than sort of this somewhat classic approach. Now, I haven't asked the students permission to share that, but I probably will because it was pretty spectacular. And I really kind of liked I loved the way they did it. It was fantastic. But again, this is also an A, and that one was an A. It's just, having the fun and creative approach. Hopefully that's it. Okay, so with that being said, here's the next thing I want to talk about with you. This week we have a progress journal. And I like the progress journals. It's a way for me to connect with you on an individual basis. And this morning, if you've already done the progress journal, you're watching this video, you already turned it in, don't worry about what I'm going to say. If you haven't done the progress journal, great. I generally like them to be done towards the end of the module, but everybody does their work in a different pattern. What I am going to add within this this particular progress journal assignment in here is a question, one more question. So, and that question is going to be whether you would like to continue to do concept maps, or would you like to do what I'm going to call a concept summary paper. That'll be one full page, double spaced, full page, 1-inch margins, all that stuff. Just traditional summary on the information presented. Some students have come to me and said, I really would rather write a paper. Last thing I would want to do is write a paper, but maybe I would like to give you potentially the choice. So let me know your thoughts on that. Again, I'm going to put a question in here. So in that progress journal, just say, yeah, I'd like the choice, or no, I don't want to do papers. Let me know, and we might tweak this course a little bit. Maybe give you the choice whether you want to do a single page paper, no APA required, but a full page, or whether you'd want to stick with the concept maps. Either way, we're going to make the learning objective, I think. You're taking the information and you're able to work with that information one more time to help you kind of make it your own. I think that's necessary for the learning process. You read, you watch, through the videos and the readings, but there's always that next step that you need to do with the information to manipulate it a little bit, whether it's writing flashcards or concept maps or notes or papers. That just helps it sink in a little bit and also helps you to synthesize that knowledge, kind of a fancy word, but kind of make it your own. So we got to take that next step in there. How we take that next step, I think we can talk about that. So I'm really looking for your opinion this week on the concept maps versus a concept summary single page paper. So let me know on that. All right, guys, a little bit long this week. Sorry about that, but I hope everybody's having a great week, and I will check in with you soon. Thanks.